Erev Tov Rabotai, we are continuing with our Mishna Yomi, Masechet Baba Batra. We are up to Perek Tet Mishnah Gimel. Today's Mishnah should be Le'elui Nishmat Neria ben Svetlana Ranbai Veliyahu ben Burchai Israelov Chana bat Miriam Sason ben Raya and Yoshua ben Shifra Menuchatam began Eden. Amen. And Avdir ben Chaim lechaim v'derefua shelemav Daniel Shalom ben Rosa Betoch Shachu leIsrael and Achlama Merav Binyamin Or Tzion Chai ben Dvorah. The Mishnah teaches the law that applies when one heir works with the properties of an estate that has not yet been divided and produces a profit. Hiniach banim gedolim uktanim. If someone died and he left behind adult sons and minor sons, hishbichu gedolim et nechasim, and the adult sons improved the properties of the estate before they were divided. For example, they hired workers with money belonging to the estate to plant the fields of the estate and grow crops. Hishbichu la'emtza, whatever they have improved goes to the middle, meaning the profits are shared equally by all of the heirs. Although the adult sons were the ones who went to the trouble of hiring the workers and getting the work done, we assume that they did this on behalf of the younger brothers as well. They do not even receive pay for their own time because we assume that they wish to help provide for their minor brothers. Now, this ruling applies only when the brothers did not do the actual work themselves, but rather hired workers to improve the land. But if they work to plant trees or build houses on the properties or spend their own money to make improvements, then the increase in value belongs to them alone. But if they said, see what property our father has left us, meaning see the current value of the estate, for we plan to improve it and keep the increased value. Now this statement must be made in Beddin. Hare anu osin va'ochlin. We are now going to work to improve its value and we will keep the profits. Hishbichu la'atzman, then whatever they improve they keep for themselves. Once they state that their intention is to work for themselves, the minor sons do not receive any share of the profit. Even though the improvements came from the entire estate, the minor sons do not receive any share in them. Since the Beit Din did not object to the actions of the adult sons, it is assumed that it is to everyone's benefit that the properties of the estate remain productive, and the court waives the right of the minor sons, who are not working the land in any case, to any of the profits. The Mishnah notes that the same rules apply in a similar case, and so too in the unusual case of a woman who inherits her husband's estate along with her sisters. Now, a woman generally does not inherit any portion of her husband's estate. However, it is possible for a woman to be her husband's heir, as in the following case. Reuven had an only brother, Shimon, who died and left 3 daughters. Reuven married one of the daughters. A person is permitted to marry his niece, and then he died without children. In such a case, Reuven's heirs are his 3 nieces, assuming he has no father, the daughters of his brother. Since his wife is one of the nieces, she inherits a share of her husband's estate. Now again, in this unusual case of a woman who inherits her husband's estate along with her sisters, who improved the properties using the funds of the undivided estate, the law is that whatever she has improved goes to the middle and is shared by all of theirs equally. Since the widow did not declare that she was working only for herself, we assume that she was doing so on behalf of the other sisters as well. But in this case too, if she said before witnesses or the court, see what my husband has left me, I am now going to work to improve the estate's value and I will keep the profits. Whatever she improves, she keeps for herself. In this case too, the fact that the heirs did not protest her actions indicates that they wish the properties to be productive and the other heirs do not receive anything. Now the Mishnah adds the case of a widow to teach that although it is beneficial for a widow to demonstrate that she is capable of caring for an estate, since this will help her prospects of finding a new husband, and therefore she is benefiting in any event from her work, nevertheless, if she declares that she intends to work only for herself, we allow her to keep all of the profits. And that is in Mishnah Gimel. Mishnah Dalet discusses more laws about brothers who have not yet divided their father's estate. Ha'achin ha'shutafin, if brothers are still partners in their father's property, meaning they have not yet divided their father's estate, Shenafal echad menu manut, and it falls to one of them to perform work for the king, which was a very profitable job. The king would choose a member of one of the families of the town to be in charge of collecting the royal taxes for a month or two, and this was a very profitable appointment, as the person chosen was entitled to keep a share of the taxes for himself. Nafal la'emtza, the profit from the appointment falls to the middle, and all of the brothers share it equally. Since the king selected a member of the family for the job because of the family rather than because of the brother, all of the heirs are entitled to equal shares of the profit. However, if this particular brother was chosen for his personal intelligence, wisdom, or importance, and not because of his family connections, then he is entitled to keep all of the profit from the job for himself. Chalav v'nitrapeh, if one of the brothers became ill because he did not take care of himself properly, for example, he went out in bad weather without dressing warmly enough, and he caught a chill and became sick as a result, and he was healed using funds from the undivided estate, nitrapeh mishel atzmo, he is healed from his own share. Since the illness was caused by his own negligence, the other brothers do not have to contribute to the cost of the cure, and it is deducted from his share of the estate. But if one of the brothers became ill through no fault of his own, this is considered an unavoidable occurrence, and the cost of his healing is shared by all of the brothers equally, as it is considered part of regular support. Now, the next ruling of the Mishnah concerns the law of groomsmen's gifts, shushbinut. In those times, it was the custom for friends of a groom to act as his groomsmen, bringing him gifts in honor of his wedding, celebrating at his chuppah, and eating festive meals with him during Sheva Brachot. It was understood that the groom would pay back his groomsmen by celebrating with them and giving them similar gifts in return when they would eventually celebrate their own weddings. The Mishnah discusses how groomsmen's gifts that are returned to one of the brothers are handled. If some of the brothers acted as groomsmen during the father's lifetime, meaning one or more of the brothers were sent by the father to act as groomsmen, and the father provided the money for the gifts that they gave, then when a groomsman's gift returns when one of the brothers marries after the father's death, it returns to the middle and is shared equally by all of the brothers, rather than belonging only to the brother who was getting married. Since the original groomsmen gifts were paid for by the father, any returning gifts become the property of the father's estate. Shashushbinut nikbet bebedin, for groomsmen's gifts are treated like loans, even to the extent that they can be collected in court. If someone acted as a groomsman and gives groomsmen's gifts to his friend, and afterward he himself marries, he can legally demand that his friend come celebrate with him and provide him with similar gifts in return. And this obligation applies when the circumstances of both weddings are the same. So we therefore view the returning gifts as loans that are being repaid to the father, not as gifts to the brother getting married. A loan that was owed to the father, which is repaid after his death, is divided among all the heirs equally. The groomsmen's gifts are divided equally as well. Now, this ruling applies where the father did not single out one of his sons particularly to act as the groomsman when he sent the gift. Rather, he said, one of you go and act as a groomsman. But if he said that he wished a particular son to be the one to go, then any groomsman's gifts that return when that son gets married belong to him alone, because we assume that the father intended for the loan to be payable only to him. But if someone sends his fellow barrels of wine or oil on the occasion of his wedding, but does not celebrate with him at the wedding or does not go to feast with him, these are not considered groomsmen's gifts, and they cannot be collected in court, because this sort of gift is simply an act of kindness that is given without the intention that it must be returned. Therefore, if the father sends such gifts in his lifetime, and similar gifts are sent in return when one of the brothers marries after his death, the brother who is being married keeps them for himself. Such gifts are not viewed as a loan being repaid to the father, but simply as ordinary wedding presents that the brother who is being married would keep for himself. And that is in Rabotai of today's Mishna Yomi. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen v'amen.